Tonight went from bad to worse, and then worse than that. But you want the good news? Preseason doesn't count. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone after the Utah Jazz fall to the Portland Trailblazers 124-86. Is it fair to say the game wasn't that close? Maybe. We bring you POSTCAST after every single Jazz game this season, so make sure you join us. By the way, one note for you all, since you built such a great community, I'll be posting early in the day that this will be up on YouTube so you guys can chat throughout the game and talk to each other as the games are going on this year during the chat room. So I'll have that for you as a way for you guys to all chat with each other. Well, the Jazz fell behind tonight, 29-17 at the end of one after a fairly good start. Then it went to 60-33. Then it went to 96-55 before finishing 124-86. It's interesting. Our one commenter immediately says that we had no defense. I would go 100% the other direction. We had no offense. Our offensive rating was a 68 in the first quarter, a 58 by halftime. We scored 33 points in the first half. We were 4 of 20 from the field, 12 of 41 from the field overall. At halftime, Ron, the Jazz had 14 turnovers and 12 field goals, and the Blazers had blocked 9 shots, and the Jazz had 12 going in. Now, the Jazz were the second best effective field goal percentage team in the preseason coming into this, which is probably not a natural spot for them to be. So this was regression to the mean, capitalized, bold-faced, font 63.
How about 27% in the first quarter? 29% in the second quarter. So offense was definitely a problem. It wasn't necessarily the defense of the Jazz, definitely the offense, but the defense of the Portland Trailblazers, for the most part, took the Jazz out.
All right. There are some actual logical things here to talk about. I mean, we can make kind of, we can kind of like just giggle about how ridiculous some of the numbers are. They're bad. There's like every number's bad. They had 40% offensive rebounding rate against us. The turnovers were ridiculous. The block shot. Okay. Let's go to this point because this is a young basketball team. The Jazz have 7 guys at 23 or younger that are playing. They're committed to doing that this year. There are going to be some nights like this. This is not going to be the last time we experience this season because some of the things that happened tonight are real. And let's go to that. Kamara is 6'8". He played their 2-guard tonight. He picked up Keontae George. They decided to cut off Keontae. If Keontae George was the snake, they cut off his head from the beginning with heavy pressure. Talk to me about what they did and how that caused so many problems.
Well, once you get Keontae to change in directions, then a good defensive player with good footwork is going to stay in front of him and cause some problems there. But I really think that they were switching all over the floor, and not only Kamara, but everyone that had to defend out on the perimeter did a great job of keep forcing the Jazz a little bit farther out on the floor, and they find themselves the Jazz are not. In other words, their passing wasn't in the situations like that wasn't generating anything. So they were dribbling, and they're dribbling into where they're switching all over the floor. That defense gave Jazz problems last year, and we're seeing it again so far here in the playoffs.
So, oops, I didn't mean to show that. I was trying to cut and paste that so I could send it to my producer. But anyway, they started Simons, who's not very big, Kamara, who's 6'8", Avido, who's 6'8", Jeremy Grant, who's 6'9", and Donovan Klingon, who's 7'2", and was awesome. So this is a big team. I mean, Chauncey Billups told a story that if I was his GM, I wouldn't have loved about how a friend of his made fun of him last year, that his team last year could have walked through the airport and nobody would have known it was a basketball team because they weren't big enough. They talked about preseason that they are big enough now. That length and that pressure is not going to be an uncommon thing for this team.
It's definitely not going to be, especially with Klingon when he's on the floor.
Yeah,
because they can afford to overplay. They can afford to take chances. And then with the way that aggressive defense that they're playing, they might get beat sometimes. Boy, you got a big guy back there that can protect the paint enough to the point where you can recover. And I'm not sure what they scored in the paint tonight.
Well, they were pounding us on the offensive glass, so I'm sure they scored a lot.
And they scored 68 points. The Jazz get 32 points in the paint.
Donovan Klingon finished the night tonight with 14 points, 20 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 block shots in 24 minutes. That's truly the story of the night.
And don't forget, he was drafted before Edie.
Yes,
Edie is the player of the year.
All right, let's get to the other one that I thought I saw that was real tonight. Like, okay, the shooting was bad. Here's the other one I've seen all preseason that's real. Lowry Markkanen averages an assist a game, and the league knows it. And the Jazz are trying to play him more off isolation, off the bounce, and anytime he puts it on the deck, they're like, one of the rules in the league is you never leave strong side corner. Well, evidently, if Lowry Markkanen's driving, you leave strong side corner because they know he's not passing yet. So until he starts to pass, we're going to see this type of pressure, and his turnovers are up right now.
We thought that he had gotten better toward the end of the season last year at driving, but that was more driving, and you're looking at the corner three. Not so much where you're driving, have to spin, change directions, and things like that. That's when he gets in trouble. And he's got to get better. I mean, it's the bottom line.
So, all right, let's go to so this tonight was bad. Like, okay, really bad. And honestly, it's not going to be when we're playing 7 young guys. Taylor got knocked out of his game. Cody wasn't impactful. Bryce Sensabaugh played 3 minutes and got yanked for something. Keontae, frankly, turned it over 3 times in the second quarter in like about a 5-possession span where we had 9 turnovers. Like, this is going to happen. When we go into Boston, if they're on their game, like, it's going to happen. And so we have to understand that and get used to it, that this is a little much tonight, but it's probably not the only time we're going to see it. Just when you're committed to playing these young guys, and they've got to learn from it. That's the whole point of this. So let's go to the whole preseason as we walk toward the season, walk toward Wednesday in Memphis. What did you see out of this group? What are you expecting? What have you maybe picked up on in this extended? We played 6 games in the preseason that parlays into Wednesday against Memphis.
It gets fuzzy now, because this ball game is what you're thinking about. What's
recency
in
bias
your mind
is strong
right now, So it gets a little bit fuzzy. But I thought the growth of this team was individual and not so much team wise, except for Keontae. Taylor struggling. I mean, we're not getting enough out of him and out there on the floor. I mean, especially early in the ball game. So this is just some things the Jazz are going to have to figure out. And as you mentioned earlier, this is not going to be the first time. Just hope that it's not as bad. You hope that during the course of the basketball game they can figure it out. The Jazz never figured anything out.
No, they certainly didn't tonight. Right. And then maybe in the back of your mind it's the last preseason game, and in the back of your mind that you're probably not playing the second half. Like there could be some real level on this one that you're trying to get through the night. Like, let's get to the regular season. I mean, I think there's some element of that, but obviously it did not go well. I will say the thing I'm going to be most interested in is, so just big picture, the defense. I thought it was even kind of relatively fine tonight. You're really not scoring. It's really hard to play defense. I am a little concerned offensively. Like, there's just a lot of guys on our roster that are not capable of getting their shot off and getting to make plays on an NBA level, that if teams are plugged in defensively and have a game plan against us, which until tonight it didn't look like anybody really had, I think there could be some really tough defensive moments or offensive moments for this roster, which is fine. Like, that's part of the process and part of these young guys trying to figure out how to play. But there are a lot of guys right now who I don't think naturally can get a shot off.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with that, David. And hopefully it gets better as the season goes on. But I don't think we can. You got to have talent to play the way the Portland Trailblazers played the Jazz tonight. You got to have enough guys that can flat out get after you and turn you and all that kind of stuff, which in your lineup.
The ironic thing is they're missing their best defensive player in Thibault, and they're probably missing their best athlete in Sharp.
What about? Yeah, that's true. It's very much. And Sharp probably won't be back for a while though. But for the most part, this team, they won 21 games last year.
Yes,
one of the 4 teams that were under 500. The Jazz being one of them as well. You see a little bit more improvement from last year with this team.
I mean, Demi Advent is a nice player. Jeremy Grant. I mean, they have rotation NBA players there, right? And their starting lineup wasn't, Kamara, 6'8", second-year player, is 25. He came out of Dayton. He's old, so he's a little bit more mature. So, yeah, I think so. I mean, I I mean, the really unfortunate thing for Portland is that Scoot Henderson might be the most important player on this team, and he went 2 of 13 tonight, 0 of 5 from 3, and his inability to shoot is really glaring. And his game has only got one speed to it right now. It's head down driving, and if that doesn't work, there's not another piece of his puzzle yet as a second-year player, and they need him to bring it together. But we'll see. I mean, these two teams played up against each other. Memphis is going to come with a scouting report, and John Morant doing this, and Desmond Bane and real minutes and focus, and maybe we got a little bit of that out of a young Portland team that was ready to really play at that level tonight because they came out hard and hit the Jazz, and the Jazz didn't bounce back very well.
Well, they got a few days to work on some things, knowing that the Memphis Grizzlies are coming into town, so we're ready to go.
You know who else doesn't like being down 40?
No one.
NBA players.
Right.
So Will Hardy's going to have their attention for the next few days. This probably rocked them a little bit of like, oh, shoot, if we're not on and we don't do what we can do, it can get ugly and embarrassing. And these are prideful individuals who are not interested in being humiliated and having a team making you look like the Washington Generals on a floor on a regular basis. So you're going to see there's going to be some work put in between now and Wednesday, and you'll see some effort on these games.
David, Washington Generals get a bad rap, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
They have a bad winning percentage, though, Ron.
I wonder why.
On that note, thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate all of you for hanging with us tonight. It's kind of amazing that there's as many of you that are here with us live. We will be putting this up either really early in the day or right when I get to the arena every night. So this will be available for you as a chat room on YouTube. For those of you on audio, thank you very much for tuning in to POSTCAST. I'll be back with you Monday. We'll have points gained analysis this week on Locked on Jazz, predicting the West and the East before getting you ready for Wednesday's opener against the Memphis Grizzlies. Have a great night and be safe. For those of you on the video version of the program, we'll send you the first ever 24/7 national sports channel, Locked on Sports Today. And for those of you on audio, I suggest you head over to Locked on NBA for your daily NBA coverage. Have a great one. Talk to you later.